Hey, JD here. Welcome to the Mead House. You know, over the past several years, we've brought you over 125 episodes of mead making, education, information, and entertainment. More than 80 guests have stopped by the Mead House. Professional mead makers, medal-winning home mead makers, competition organizers, experts on yeast and honey specialists have all visited to share their knowledge. The Mead House is produced for home mead makers and brewers looking for a bit of inspiration and information from the many guests and discussions we have here at the house. You can help support the Mead House by joining the Mead House Keyholder Club on Patreon. Just go to patreon.com and search for the Mead House. There's also a link in the show notes. For as little as $2 a month, you can become a key holder. We've teamed up with some great companies to provide thank you gifts for your support. So get on over to Patreon, join the Mead House Keyholder Club, and get your own set of keys to the Mead House. Hey, you can listen to the Mead House podcast with your favorite player and be sure to rate us 5 stars on iTunes or your favorite listening venue. The Mead House. Mead making entertainment you just don't want to miss.
Hey, we asked our listeners how much they pay for honey, and one of our listeners, Gary, up in Alaska, told us that the standard price there is $20 a pound. Yep, $60 a quart for 3 pounds, and he's seen it priced higher. Hey, sounds like hydromel may be the way to go for anyone up there in Alaska. Hey, Jeff and Ryan are both seated at the bar. They got me washing glasses and slicing limes back here at the sink. I'm JD Webb. Welcome to the Mead House, and thanks for listening to episode number 148. You know where to find us on iTunes, Stitcher Radio, Spotify, iHeartRadio, and a whole lot of other places. They're all listed on the website. You can check it out, themeadhouse.com. Hey, something Ryan sent along in the notes this week. Ryan brewed chamber mead. I don't know where they posted this, but he's talking about a mead that they put together. They call it Palindrome. This is one that they've been wanting to do, I guess, for quite a while. Metafoam honey. Wow, 25 pounds. That sounds really good right off the bat. 5 gallons of water, and it's bubbling away, apparently. And thanks to a 1-liter starter that he made of a new yeast, new to brewed chamber mead, he says, now get this, he heard the guys at the Mead House talking about this yeast and saying nothing but good things, so they thought they'd give it a try. It's Hothead from Omega Yeast. We've never heard of that, have we?
I think Omega owes us a nickel for every time we mentioned it.
You think? Yeah, Omega Yeast. It's a Norwegian Kvik ale strain. And it's got a really, like he puts it, astoundingly wide temperature range. We're very familiar with that. And he swapped it out for, I guess he, I'm kind of lost here. Oh, I get it. He's got the starting gravity at 1118. It's an 11% yeast, so he's hoping to get somewhere around 103, 104. Somewhere about 10.5, 1175 ABV with some residual sweetness and metafoam goodness. I had a little, we had a little sample of that metafoam come around the house here, and let me tell you, man, I wish I could get my hands on some. That's just the most amazing tasting honey I've ever had. But hopefully he'll let us know how it turns out, guys. Hey, in this episode, our guest this episode was a cavalry scout in the Army for 6 years. You know, back when I was in the cavalry, we used to ride horses into battle and ate bacon and beans 3 meals a day. Not just kidding. Hey, he wanted to start he started winemaking in 2007 and has designed an oaking system. Actually, it's more than an oaking system. It's kind of a tool, actually. And guys, this has got to be one of the most innovative oaking systems I have ever seen. We welcome Michael Azar to the house tonight. And in segment 2, we got some updates on the Iron Bee 2020. Jeff and Ryan have been working hard on that. And Now, okay, now I'm going to give this my best shot here. Brulosophy. Ryan says I pronounced it right in the pre-show. This is about using olive oil, guys. Really? I mean, okay. We'll wait till segment 2 before we talk more about that. And then, of course, Facebook friends in segment 3. This is where we try to answer questions with no formal expertise other than what we've experienced in our own brew room. All that and more here at the Meat House. But first, thanks to all the Meat House key holders who help keep the Meat House podcast free. You too can become a Meat House key holder and help support the show for as little as $2 a month. We've got some great thank you gifts to send to you. So get on over to patreon.com, search for the Meat House, and click the link in the. You got to pardon my voice here tonight. I'm really struggling through a lot of this. I was down for the last couple of months with pneumonia. Had to go through a relapse. Finally getting this thing all straightened out. They got me on, had me on some pretty good antibiotics, so we're feeling good. It's just my voice is taking a little bit of extra time trying to recover. The coughing and hacking and everything that comes along with this. I don't know. Doctor says it was some kind of flu strain or some damn thing. Anyway, what are we drinking tonight? I'm going to start this one off. I'm two-fisting it tonight, guys. I'm still digging through my box, Jeff, from Sap House. This one's the hopped blueberry, and my wife was able to take a couple of sips of this one before I was able to get to it. But I like this. This is really good. On the aroma, I mean, right away you get a mild hop aroma, and some kind of actually it's a blueberry. I believe that's what I'm smelling. Oh, wow. This stuff is, wow. This is like
blue. Not cracked mine open yet, but yeah, I'm looking forward to it.
Oh my God, dude, you're gonna love this one. It's got hints of maple syrup. Of course, I think they back sweetened this one a little bit with maple syrup, but the blueberry is right there, and that mild hop flavor right up front. Guys, Evan down there at Sap House, you boys knocked this one out of the park too. Really good stuff. Now, Ryan, in my other fist, I sent you a picture of it. My wife and I have been going to this little Irish pub over in Santa Monica, O'Brien's. And he's old Willie over there, the owner of the place. He turned me on to the Redbreast Irish whiskey. And that stuff is just phenomenal. If you can pick it up, get the 12-year. That's the best. Red Spot I'm drinking here tonight. It was another one that he suggested. And so this last weekend, we went over there for lunch. And so I tried this Red Spot 15-year single pot stilled Irish whiskey. It's aged in bourbon and sherry and Marsala barrels. And I got to tell you guys, Ryan, this stuff is amazingly good. I think you'll like this. It's very comparable to the Redbreast. My wife seems to like the Red Spot better than Redbreast. I prefer the Redbreast, but man, it's sweet. It's got caramel. It's got the oak. It's got the vanilla. It's everything. It's everything that you would ever want in an Irish whiskey. So that's what I'm drinking tonight. So Jeff, what did you put in your glass tonight, guy?
Funny you should mention Sap House, and funny we should talk about a Meadow Foam mead at the top of the show. I got a couple extra bottles in my Sap House order this time around, and this one is in their barrel age series. It's called Split Open and Melt.
Oh, wow.
It's a Meadow Foam traditional. It's been aged in a rum barrel for 24 months.
Oh,
and I will say this right off the top. I've had a number of Meadow Foam honeys that I have judged in competition, and they all kind of come off just almost cloying. If their balance is right, it's very sweet. The Meadow Foam character is just really, really, really sweet. But this is an entirely different character that I'm not quite used to.
It's is the cat chasing the dog?
I think so. I'll have to go calm them down in a second here. the meadow foam character is there, but the rum really does an interesting job of balancing it and adding some additional character to it that I'm just not familiar with from anything else meadow foam based that I've tasted. It's really interesting and fascinating, and yeah, I'm going to enjoy this little glass I poured myself here. In my other glass, it's more of a cup. In the last 24 hours, our weather has gone from 68 degrees to 30 degrees. And I'm angry.
Yeah.
So I got myself a nice piping hot cup of Colombian dark roast coffee that I've put a healthy swig of some American Prairie bourbon in to warm myself up.
That'll work.
Yeah, that'll do.
Good stuff. That American Prairie, that's good. That's good bourbon. I really dig that. Always keep a bottle or two on the shelf here at Mead House South.
Oh yeah, it's a great price point and really great bourbon. So I mean, it's a knock it out of the park every time.
You know, I've spent. I mean, you know me. I mean, my whole collection of bourbons here. I mean, it's massive, and I've spent anywhere from almost $150 a bottle down to $25 a bottle, even $9.99 the other day for Evan Williams, which I use for usually soaking oak in or adding to a project. But I tell you that American Prairie, you're right. It's a perfect price point. It's about $35, $39, somewhere in there, depending on where you get it. And it's got everything you'd ever want to have in a bourbon. I dig it. It's really good. So, Ryan, I know you're getting all settled in up there at Mead House North. Have you unpacked any more boxes? And what did you put in your glass tonight?
Yeah, so I unpacked a box of my Belgian chocolate braggot, and I am drinking that tonight. This was one I made probably 2 years ago, and it's a braggot. Dark grains. I don't have the recipe in front of me here. I haven't unpacked the notebook box yet, but dark grains. I think the wildflower honey, some lactose, cocoa nibs, and a Belgian strain of yeast. And it's very, very, I mean, it's got great mouthfeel. It's really creamy. It's really chocolatey. It's got just the right amount of sweetness. And it's really, I mean, I liked it right when I made it, but I mean, sitting in a bottle for probably 2 years has just really made it something special. So I'm enjoying a bottle of that this evening.
Awesome. Very good.
Yeah. Well, as JD mentioned, we got a very special guest tonight, Michael Azar from Next Level Oak. He was an Army Cavalry Scout for 6 years, and when getting out, earned a degree in chemistry. He started making wine in 2007 and started a small 2-acre vineyard in Pennsylvania. Sadly, the winter and spotted lantern flies took its toll on his vines, and he's going to have to replant soon. His goal with Next Level Oak is to focus on the home brewer. I see, especially on the wine side, a lot of the oaking products they make are made out there are designed for large-scale facilities. Welcome to the show, Michael, and what's in your cup tonight?
So thanks for having me. I appreciate it, and I'm kind of honored to be here. And I'm sad to say I'm kind of unprepared. I'm just drinking a glass of water tonight, so nothing really special going on my end here.
Filtered or spring?
It's actually the well water, so at least it's a little bit special here.
There you go. No, we're happy to have you on the show, and thank you very much. And we're glad that you'll be hydrated.
Good.
For
Appreciate
our
it.
discussion this evening. Guys, sometimes the best ideas that you see out there don't require a lot of explanation. You see it, and you just get it. You get why it's special. You get why it's going to work. And that was the feeling that I had when I was shown Next Level Oak. this product that Michael came up with, he and his partner. Nobody had to explain it to me. I didn't need a spiel. I didn't need to. You just saw it and you got it, and you immediately saw how it was going to solve some problems and make your life easier. So Next Level Oak and Michael, I'll let you kind of describe how you guys got into it, but in its simplest form, it's a stopper that has a piece of oak coming off of the bottom of it that is notched, that you can then slide additional notched pieces of oak into and put those directly in your carboy. So you can control the amount of oak that you want in there. You can even swap out, because as you're kind of building your stick here, you could swap out, light toast, medium toast, heavy toast, things like that. And then as soon as you get that flavor you like, you can just take that out and put an airlock on it, or take the yoke off and put the stopper back. So I saw this and I just thought, yeah, I get it. I get it. I understand what it is, and I wanted to talk to you and talk about how you came up with it, how you developed it, and what you're doing.
Sure. So, like I said, I kind of started off like everybody. I wouldn't say I'm an industry expert or like a professional. Like, I have a small hobby vineyard, and I've been a hobby brewer my entire time I've been doing this. So it really started. I have 13 acres of land. I was cutting the grass actually, and halfway through it, I was kind of zoned out, and I was like, it was a hot, humid day. I said, God, if you give me the idea, like, I'll invent it, I'll patent it. And by the time I got to the end of the field, like, it just started kind of coming to me, and kind of figured out, like, I love making wine, and that's kind of like the background that I have in home brewing. And I kind of saw some of the shortcomings with the other oak alternatives out there. And I don't like bashing any of them. But, like, the only thing I'll bash are like the cubes, the chips, and the powders, just because they're kind of a pain. But I've used the spirals and the wine sticks, and they're great products. I've had great results with them, but I kind of just ended up inventing something that I personally would use. And then from there, I linked up with my buddy John Turco, who I actually went to high school with, and we linked up years later. And he's like a magician when it comes to woodworking, and I gave him a drawing, and he said, yeah, I can make that happen. So he gave me the prototype, and I told him, I said, hey man, are you in? And he said, sure, let's do it. So here I am. So now we started Next Level Oak, and here we are talking to you guys.
Yeah, it's so tell us a little bit, was this born out of frustration? Had you talked about the powders and the chips and the cubes and things like that, but you also said you've used some of the other ones. I kind of mentioned when you and I were communicating, I've done the fishing line, where I've put sanitized fishing line around like an oak stick, and toss that in the carboy, and then you kind of just fish it out when you when you kind of reach that level of oak that you're interested in. Were you dealing with something similar? Were you trying to solve a common frustration that you had dealt with?
Yeah, so like I don't want to say I'm like a lazy brewer. I like to be kind of efficient, and so when I kind of started with it, originally the design was like a single piece of oak that was kind of in the shape that it is now, and it was kind of wishful thinking that I didn't need any extra pieces to it, that I could just have like a tapered top and a single cylindrical piece that I could just put in there. But then as it evolved, I kind of felt like, my mission with it was when somebody opens up the package, I wanted I wanted the home brewer to like require nothing else besides sanitizing it. You know what I mean? So I wanted it to connect together, which is where you have I call them the internal connectors. They're actually dovetails. So originally the goal was I just wanted to have a tool that the pieces connected together, required no fishing lines or mesh bags. I didn't have to screw an eyelet screw into the bung. I'm sure some people have done that. So it was actually, it's funny you guys are the Mead House podcast. I heard you guys talking about honey. Like, I was a beekeeper when I was in college, and the honey supers that I had, the supers for my beehives, I used dovetails for the joints to kind of keep the boxes together. And I just kind of looked at the dovetail, and I figured, like, this is actually, like, the best thing to use to kind of connect pieces of wood together and kind of dangle them inside of the carboy. And then to kind of hop on board of your Mead House podcast is the silicone bung. I actually made it honey colored because of the idea I got for the dovetails from my beekeeping days. So that's where the honey colored silicone bung comes from. So and then originally that silicone bung was out of cork, and I work with a Portuguese cork manufacturer. We actually have them out of cork. I don't think we're going to be selling them because originally I didn't want to make it out of silicone because I thought I didn't want to throw a piece of equipment at a home brewer like, oh, you have to buy this bung from us. I figured the cork version would be simpler. They can use it once and throw it away. But, I mean, as you guys know, there's some sanitation issues, and the cork wasn't really keeping a nice seal with the carboy. So it actually ended up being the best thing to go the silicone route. And then we just decided to have replacement kits that you would just get those. And if your listeners don't know what we're talking about, I'm sure they can check out our website and they can see it. But you can just buy those 3 pieces of oak and just kind of slide it into the silicone bung. So I just wanted to be more convenient to the home brewer. So that I kind of rambled on there, but go ahead and ask your questions.
So, Michael, one of the things that I was saying, I really like doing, was looking forward to doing with this, was that I've got a Solera project going with traditional mead that I like to re-oak every time I add, fresh mead to the Solera. And this seemed like a really, really easy way to do that. Because I try to keep it, I don't want to rack it very often, so I can just keep it in the carboy and do that. So I immediately kind of sounds like you on your lawnmower when you start your mind starts going. My mind started going like that too. Jeff, JD, I know you're under the weather, so I'm going to save you a little bit here from.
Yeah, go ahead.
But Jeff, kind of what you've got one in your hands.
Oh yeah.
What do you think?
So this, kind of like you were saying, this makes a level of intuitive sense. I'm kind of looking at it, and I'm looking through like a little air vent in it, and the way it's been designed. I'm excited to try this. In fact, I was thinking about doing a 3-gallon batch of some of this lavender honey. I may just bump it up to a 5-gallon batch so it fits better into the 5-gallon fermenter that I've got, and I can use the bung with it instead of the ultra wide mouth guy that I've got at home for my 3-gallon batches. But the one thing that occurs to me here, I've dabbled in woodworking over the years, and I've built myself a couple tables and some bookshelves and things like that. In trial with this, it occurs to me that the oak will only give up so much flavor so long. You probably want to trade it out like monthly or things like that. Have you noticed that the oak is kind of swelling in these joints and hard to take apart when you're ready to trade them out, or maybe put like a different kind of oak in there? Or has that been an issue?
So once you kind of connect them together, it will swell up at the joints. So some of the feedback we got from the prototype stage from homebrew stores, where we kind of left them at looser tolerances, but
okay.
So some people ask us if they can make it a little bit tighter. So one of the things that we're going to be offering, so if you don't have to swap them out, is usually if you go to some other competitors out there of mine, you can either get a light toast, medium toast, heavy toast, and that's it. one of the things that we're going to do, I mean, you guys have the tool in your hands and you can kind of see why we can do it. We're going to go the extra mile and kind of offer like a combination package where if you want a medium and a medium plus, we'll just kind of fit that together so you can connect them. And once they're in there, if it swells, there's no need to swap out if that's what you kind of wanted to do. But it may be a downfall because it may be tight to kind of pop them back out once it's in there. But I don't want to say it's impossible. Maybe you can kind of sand them down a little bit. But so to kind of alleviate that, we do offer that combination where if you did want that complexity and a medium plus, we can just sell that to you.
Yeah, the interchangeability of it seems like a good draw. I mean, if, like you were saying, if you want two different types of oak with two different characters, you can kind of mix and match there. So that's cool. And I can imagine a level of swelling and kind of like connectedness between these guys working out in your favor, just because that dovetail joint is a pretty solid joint. But if I'm in a hurry and trying to pull it or something and I slip, then could easily get like the last one of these guys falling into the into the carboy and having to like rack off of it to get it out. So I was just curious how easy it is to swap these guys out since I haven't gotten a chance to play with it quite yet.
Yeah, it's going to be pretty tough. I wouldn't say it's impossible, but like we did notice, like if you did want to change it out, it will kind of shrink in time, so you could pop it out and put another one in there. It's just a matter, like we kind of the feedback we got, people just wanted to use it straight, so we didn't really kind of design to swap it out halfway. So
okay.
So maybe in the future we can kind of play with the tolerances there if that's something people would like,
Yeah. It's probably I mentioned my Solera project, but just to remind our listeners of what my Solera project actually was. Started off with a batch of traditional mead, and then so in a primary fermenter going in down to just a traditional mead, putting that in a carboy, and then about a year later, racking off half of it and then refilling the empty space now, so the half, with another fresh batch of traditional. And then the second year, or a third of it, whatever you want to do, a half, a third, whatever, you kind of do whatever you want. But then maybe, taking another third of that, or half of that away on year two, and replacing it with a fresh batch, and just continually doing this every year, so that you've got this kind of rotation going of some meat out and meat in. And then, like I said, I do like the oak. So then whether it's a 5 days or 7 days or something on some medium toast or whatever that is, just seemed like a really slick way to do that. Michael, I want to talk about the toasting process that you guys go through.
Sure.
Tell us about right now what you're doing is I think you said you're offering all American oak. So tell us just kind of how that how the oak is sourced and toasted, and the characteristics people can expect from your sticks.
Sure. Like you said, I started off with winemaking. I didn't really know much about toasting oak, and then when I kind of got into it, it's kind of pretty mind blowing. And I always joke with John, it's like, how did these people figure out to get these flavors and aroma from oak? It's beyond me. But so we source all our staves from stave mills who they sell their staves to cooperages, and we also work with cooperages. So that's where we get our oak from. And so we know at least they're a minimum 1.5 year season. Sometimes they're 3-year season. So the biggest factor that we need is to have, the moisture content low. And then we kind of have a process, and we've played around with it during our prototypes of like what stage do we toast it, and then we go into the fine detailed woodworking. But so we use a convection oven. There's really nothing fancy about what we use, and there's a chart out there. I think if people want to try toasting their own oak, I think World Cooperage put it out there, and if the temperatures on that are pretty spot on with the flavors that you'll get out of it. The biggest factor for us was the thickness of the oak going into the oven, and then essentially, we had to figure out what are the actual, flavors and aromas that we're getting out of it. So it took us a good bit of time there to toast it, finding out what the time and temperatures for the thickness of oak that we're putting in the oven. We sent them out to a lab in California, and pretty much what they do is they soak it in some neutral wine, I think for 12 days, and then they run it through a GCMS for those, I think there's 6 compounds, 6 or 8, and then we get an analysis and we get like a flavor plot. So and I kind of asked the one guy, he's kind of, one of the experts in oaking and toasting, and I asked him, I was like, how are my toasts comparing to everybody else? And, one of the things that he told me that kind of stuck with me is there's really no right or wrong. It's a matter of like, what are you trying to get out of it? So with our medium toast, what we really wanted to get was obviously the cis and oak lactones, which gives you that obviously that fresh oak and coconut kind of flavor and aroma. And then you have the furfurols, which are the sweet butterscotch, and vanillin, which is the vanilla flavor. So our medium toast kind of has all that, and that comes directly from the lab analysis. And the medium plus toast, we just kind of ramped the temperature up and, experimented like what would be best. And we actually found our medium plus by accident, and we ended up going with it. And that's more of a vanilla and some of that spicy char kind of flavor and aroma. But like if you came to our shop when we're working on the pieces, like a lot of people say, like the shop smells like vanilla when we work with the medium, and then more on the coffee chocolate for the medium plus. So it's pretty cool.
I'll be coming out to Atlanta, North Carolina, and perhaps even into Nashville. I know Pennsylvania is not that far away. I just may pay you a visit if I can talk my wife into a pretty serious road trip out of Atlanta. So, man, I can dig everything you're talking about because I love using oak in a lot of my projects. Even the braggots and the beers that I brew, and the closer I can get to those vanillins and caramels, and I also like that charred flavor that comes off of the toasted oak as well. So, dude, you're right up my alley, man.
Yeah, if you're ever in the area, just let me know. If you, like, say, go to our website, the address on there, you'll come right to my house. And I was actually looking up. You were talking about the what is it? The American Prairie. I think that's High West Distillery, right?
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah. So I actually got into whiskeys recently, so I'll have a bottle waiting for you if you come on
up. Oh man, I'm telling you, a lot of these guests, Ryan and Jeff, they just have all the right things to say.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
Unbelievable.
No, I mean, seriously, if you did come up to our area, like if you ever wanted to try it out, like we'll walk you through the process, and you can actually try it out yourself and take home a piece of one of our tools for yourself, and you can say you made it. So if you ever wanted to try it out, like you're more than welcome.
Oh, super cool.
One of my these two guys don't know about it yet, but one of the ideas that I had behind this podcast. This goes back a long time ago when I first started with another podcast, but eventually I wanted to get into a video type thing that we could put up on YouTube and actually go to some of these places where we, interview our guests and interview them right there at their place and do the show from there, or at least get the interview at that point and then come back, put the show together. So keep talking, Michael. I may be in Pennsylvania sooner than you think.
Well, you're more than welcome. So, I mean, you're more than welcome. That's all I can say.
Thank you.
Well, Michael, thanks for dropping by to meet tonight. We really appreciate it. Again, loved hearing about Next Level Oak. Tell us where people can get more information and pick one of these up.
So what we just kind of got on the Instagram recently. I think if you look up Mike Azar or Next Level Oak, we'll be there. My brother's wife kind of helps me out with that, so I'm not really. I still have an iPhone 4, so I'm still not tech savvy as I should be. And if you go to nextleveloak.com, you can check out our page. We're kind of very thorough on how it's used. You know what people could expect from it. We do have a dealer's page where if you wanted to buy one, you can go there. And pretty soon, I just messed with the website. We should have a made-to-order section opening up sometime soon. Actually, really soon, once I get the USPS boxes here. So you can buy directly from us, and we'll custom make it. There may be like a little lead time. If we have it in inventory, we'll send it right away. But we'll make everything fresh for everybody if need be. And so pretty soon you should be able to buy from us directly.
Very good.
Excellent. Well, thank you, and have a great evening.
All right. No, thank you, guys. I appreciate the opportunity. It was great meeting all of you.
All right. Thank you, Michael.
All right. Take care.
Thanks.
Wow. I'm sitting here looking at mine while you guys were talking. I'm, kind of turning it around in my hands. I haven't opened up the package yet, but I can just tell by the way this thing is designed he's almost going to force me back into using glass carboys again. I mean, that's just, unless I can find some lids. I don't know, Jeff, maybe you and, you and your resources out there with the home brew shop. I don't know if there's any keg lids that actually come with a, what is it, an 1.25 inch hole or whatever the hell it is. That you could put a bung in. That one of these would actually work in, because I really don't want to go out and start buying glass carboys again. But I tell you, this is by far probably one of the most innovative ways of infusing oak into your brew, using obviously the glass carboy. But I'm really excited about the way this thing goes together, because here's the other thing. All right. There are other oaks out there that contribute different flavors too, like Hungarian oak and French. I love French oak. Being able to combine some of these oaks together, even if he gets into doing some cedar or some cypress or whatever, some different woods. I mean, this is by far probably the best oaking system I've ever seen. And I'll shut up now.
Yep. I think I've said it. I think Ryan said it. It makes intuitive sense when you look at it. You see how it goes together. I'm just curious if I can swap out the bungs or something like that. I haven't opened mine up yet, just so I don't play with it, lose part of it, or anything like that until I'm ready to use it. But I look at the number 2 bung that I've got on my SS Brewtech brew bucket and go, man, could I swap these and see if that works?
Well, that's that's another thought. I mean, like I said on a show, I don't remember when it was, but I'm considering using, because I need to cut down on my instead of fermenting two batches at the same time, I need to cut down. So one of my fermenters will become a secondary, and I know that this won't fit in the lid to my that goes on top of my stainless steel brew bucket, but I got a drill. It's just a matter of getting a drill bit and making it fit. But the whole idea behind this thing is just, it's just amazing, so anyway. Segment 2, guys. I know you and Ryan, Jeff have been working on Iron Bee 2020, and I don't know if you guys nailed down a date yet. We're working on the competition website and putting all that together. But what do you got for us as far as kind of a teaser on 2020?
Yeah, so this is kind of like a pre-announcement that Iron B2 is coming up. Iron B 2020 or Iron B2, however we decide we want to say that, is coming up. Now, just to refresh everybody's memory, this competition was a lot of fun last year. We ended up with 2 categories. One was a secret ingredient category, and the second was kind of a side challenge. And so people registered for the competition, and then we mailed you a secret ingredient, and you made a mead with that secret ingredient. And then last year's side challenge, was the infamous MVP challenge, where people had to craft meads that had the flavors of mint, vanilla, and pine. Well, we are doing the same type of format again this year, in that there is a secret ingredient. Our wonderful friends at Mountain Rose Herbs are back with us again, sponsoring the secret ingredient category. So when you register, registration's not open yet, but when it does open and you register, you'll get sent. Jeff will send you a secret ingredient for you to craft your mead with, and then we'll be doing a side challenge. It won't be MVP again this year. It'll be a different side challenge, but we'll announce what that is when it comes out. And we're working with another exciting sponsor on that side challenge. So the competition was a lot of fun last year. We had people across the spectrum, people that never done a competition before, really enjoyed it. People that were competition veteran champions, entered it and had a lot of fun. And then we had an amazing prize pool. Everybody that participated got just some unbelievable prizes. And then we had a big party after the awards ceremony here in St. Paul. Again, just people from across the country came and shared their meads and talked, and we had more prizes, door prizes for people, and it was one of the premier mead events of the year, and we are going to redo that again. I mean, the demand was just so high, and people had so much fun that we are going to do that again. So in the next couple weeks we will announce that registration is open. People will, you go online, you register, you'll get sent the secret ingredient. Well, at the same time, we'll also announce what the side challenge is, and people can participate in that. And then we'll be announcing again. We'll be here in St. Paul again. The awards ceremony and the big party. And want everybody to try to make that. Again, we have people from Michigan and Oklahoma and California, and come in for that. And it was just a lot of fun. And again, it's worth putting that on your calendar and circling it and coming in for. Now, again, this is a club competition, or a key holder competition, I should say. So to enter the competition, you must be a key holder. You must click on the link in the show notes, or on the website, or on got one on Facebook, and join the key holder club. You must be a key holder to enter, and then there is no entry fee beyond that. So you got to be a key holder to enter, and when you're a key holder, you can enter at no additional charge or no cost, aside from your support level. We've got some great prizes, great awards. I think Jeff still has some Amoretti gift cards and some other goodies that you'll get. So when you sign up, you're already going to get some goodies, for signing up, and then everybody that enters the contest will get kind of an award too. Now, sign up if you're not a key holder yet. Sign up now to be a key holder, because when we announce the competition, before we announce it on the website or on Facebook or on the show, we are going to send an email to all of the key holders. So if you're a key holder, you'll get this email telling you that you can now register. So last year, there's a finite number of entries that we can have. We get a finite number of secret ingredients, and we need to send those out. And we did. We filled up. The competition. We reached our limit. We filled up, and that was that. And so anybody who's a key holder now, we are going to send that email out to them and let them register first, and then after that, then anyone else who joins as a key holder, will then have the opportunity to register. So join as a key holder now. Get that email when we announce the registration's open, and you will then have first chance to get into this competition. It's going to be a great one. We've been talking with Mountain Rose Herbs and another sponsor for the side challenge, and I'm excited. We're not going to give any hints away on what it is or even anything like that, but I know that I know that Jeff is excited because it's something that he likes, or at least is intrigued with. If trying to be maybe deliberately coy here. But Jeff, our resident guy, is with competition master here. He's excited. I think you're going to be. What do you think? You're excited about the ingredient?
I like the ingredient. I'm not going to say whether or not I played with it, because somebody could go through all nearly 150 back episodes and list off all of the things that I've made and try and intuit that. That would be a humongous waste of time. It is in a class of ingredients that I enjoy playing with. I am intrigued to see what people come up with, because there's a lot of variety, and that's what I love about these secret ingredients. We had so many creative entries last year, so the knowing what this ingredient is, knowing the potential of it, I think we can get even more variety. I think we can see some very cool stuff. So very pumped.
I had people telling me that it was the most fun competition they've ever been a part of, and because it does this takes some creativity, and really everybody's on equal footing. Whether you are a guy that's got a trophy room full of mead medals, or you're just starting out making mead. Kind of everybody's on the same level, because you're going to get this ingredient in the mail. You're not going to know what it is ahead of time, and you're going to have a handful of weeks to put a mead together with it and send it in. So it's a lot of fun. It's a great challenge, and I love that there was this amazing mix of people that had said, I've never done a competition before, and then there were people whose names you'd recognize if you're going through some of the biggest competition award winners. So it's just one of those great fun competitions. We are thrilled to put it on again, and we want you all to participate and then come check out the party. So again, the key holders whoever's the key holder in the next about a week will be getting that email when registration opens and get first dibs on that. So do that, and make sure you do it while Jeff still has some of these extra special awards to send out, or rewards, I should say, to send out to people, and get something special for it. So I'm going to leave it there, and just make sure you get that one on your mental calendar. I guess you'd have to do it right now, but this it is coming back by popular demand.
Yeah, just keep checking the website. As this thing gets closer and closer, the lead up to the 2019 was just phenomenal. I mean, after working on it for almost a year, I can tell you some of the discussions behind the scenes about the secret ingredient. I mean, oh my God, I wish I could play some of those. I wish I could have recorded some of those. But an unbelievable experience, let me tell you. I was there. and it's just the most amazing experience that you'll ever have. Ryan, I love to cook, and I get my olive oil from a little. It's called Pinocchio's. It's a little Italian deli over in Burbank, and I get the good stuff. I mean, it's like $30 for a one of those. I don't know, it was like a gallon tin of olive oil, but it's damn good stuff, and I love cooking with olive oil. I mean, one, it's healthy for you, and some of the pastas that I fix. I mean, I just a little basil, a little olive oil, some sun-dried tomatoes over some ravioli. That's all you need, dude. But when I saw this, again, Ryan, I don't know where Ryan digs this stuff up. But I get this email talking about the show notes for tonight. And he says he sees this article in Brewlosophy about using olive oil to help your yeast along. And I'm thinking, what the hell? Olive oil? I mean, yeast bread with olive oil, fine, but, yeast and beer and olive oil or meat. I mean, dude, tell me what's going on here.
Yeah, walk us through this.
Yeah, so the reason this stuck out to me was that we talked, it's 3 years ago maybe now, when Mississippi was with us on the show, and he was talking about how decades ago when he started home brewing, the conventional wisdom was you put a teaspoon of olive oil in your wort. Or I forget exactly, so don't quote me. So go back and find the episode.
Good luck.
I think he said, yeah, you put a teaspoon of olive oil in your wort, and it helped the yeast along. And this was again probably when most guys were using cans of liquid malt extract, and there wasn't the brewing systems you'd see today, the quality ingredients and systems guys were using. But anyway, so we talked a little about that. Then I see this article, and it said using olive oil in place of aeration. So it does, which leads to a healthier yeast. Putting some olive oil with it, or aerating it, and it turns out that essentially, if you want to, it's a great article. Go to Brewlosophy, read the article. But the bottom line was there was in the batch they brewed, and I think they brewed a Kolsch. So I mean, think of like a light Braggot or something. But I don't see any reason why this wouldn't work for a variety of different meads. There was no difference in flavor. They said that they did triangle testing and they couldn't get a statistically significant difference between the two beers, and so both beers ended up tasting the same, but the difference was the one with olive oil actually fermented faster, and wow. That would be the difference. So the yeast kind of got off to a better start. So those saturated fats and or the from that olive oil, and anyway, the fats in the olive oil. So the idea, the thought here is that, first of all, hey, what's old is new again. It's kind of like, I remember a few years ago, there's every couple of years there's something that comes out, like, the things that were first something is done for a long time, and then it's considered an old wives' tale, and then it's found out to be true. Kind of like, hey, when you're sick, eat chicken noodle soup, and all of a sudden, oh, that's just an old wife. That's just what grandma did. That doesn't mean anything.
No, it works.
And then you'll see then you'll see a study come out and say, actually, chicken noodle soup's like, like the best thing for you when you got a cold.
Yeah.
Or
time this and that, and all the good stuff.
Worked for me over the last couple of months.
Yeah, or the other one is, if you're not feeling well in the wintertime, make a hot toddy, and it'll help you feel better. And all of a sudden, it's just an old wives' tale, don't drink a hot toddy. And then you'll see a couple, I think 2 years ago or a year or so ago, a big article came out of scientific, proof that, a hot toddy is probably the best thing you can have if you're got a little sniffle.
Yeah.
So anyway, it's kind of like, hey, what's old is new again, and this thing. So using olive oil as a way to get your, improve yeast health, to get, for strong fermentation. Now, I don't know about the test. So they did this test first, just a super aerated wort and just one of their olive oil. They didn't talk about one, say we did a mead, we talked about using different DAP or Fermate O or Fermate K or anything like that. But I'm gonna do some foreshadowing here in the future. Maybe so it might be 4, 5, 6 episodes from now, but it'll make sense if you stay with me. I'm gonna do some foreshadowing of some maybe more natural or primitive or ways of making your mead. And so anyway, I thought this was interesting. What does our science guy here think? Jeff, what did you think when you kind of read this article and saw these results of using olive oil to boost your yeast health?
I need to go back and fine-tooth comb it. I kind of did the grad school skim of the article and got the point and the gist without all the fine details, and it's intriguing. So I definitely want to go back and get that. Time has just not been on my side since that came up. The idea that olive oil speeds up fermentation or makes it more effective, more efficient. I guess I'm not sure exactly what action that is. Whether they said it's an act of oxygenation or whether it's the fatty acids, things like that are improving yeast health. But clearly something is going on, and it's worth further investigation. So I might have to roll up my sleeves and try that myself here.
I've said I've cooked.
JD.
Well, I said I've cooked with olive oil. I'm not sure. This is, like you said, this is right up Jeff's alley. So this is going to be a Mead House experience east at over in Kansas City at Jeff's place. But I would like to know more about this. I'm intrigued because, like I said, I love olive oil. I like to get a nice even just a sourdough garlic bread and
Sure.
Get a little plate of olive oil and some balsamic vinegar. I could sit there and eat that all day long. So
a little fresh shredded parm.
Yeah, if it has any benefit to brewing, I'm all in. Hell, I'd try it.
Well,
at what point?
I'm sitting here thinking about this and going, you know what else I cook with a lot that has even more saturated fat is coconut oil. That's the stuff that is more or less solid at room temperature. So maybe a 3-way test between, traditional aeration and olive oil and coconut oil.
There you go.
And see what that brings up.
I'm curious as to what, I'm curious as to what the olive oil does, and I'm very tempted. I got to get this one project that's been in the fermenter now for over a month out and into a keg. It's just been secondarying on itself here for a while. And my next brew, I'm tempted. I don't know what the hell it does, but if it's just 1 teaspoon, and God forgive me, I have no freaking idea what episode. There wasn't that many that Mississippi was on there in the beginning before we switched over, but I'm willing to give it a shot. I mean, what the hell?
Yeah, read that article, and because they talk about the amount they use, and so that would be a good place to start. But what I also liked about this was when I'm on the forums, and a lot of times people ask us questions online, and a lot of people now. The three of us live in three major cities. Minneapolis, LA, and Kansas City. By the way, congratulations, Chiefs. And it's easy for us to get to brew shops. I mean, JD's got a couple close by. I mean, Jeff moonlights at one from time to time, and me, I can go two different directions and in 10 minutes hit two different ones.
Yeah, so, a couple of the biggest in the country, really.
Yeah, exactly. I got three of them nearby, I guess, one by my office. But anyway, a lot of people don't seem like they're near them. I mean, they talk about, it's a 45-minute drive, it's a local brew shop, or sometimes even more than that. It's like, I got to order this online. Yeah. And if this is an easy way, I mean, first of all, like I said, sometimes people have different reasons for wanting to use different products or not wanting to use different products. But here's an easy way. If you got to buy everything online, or if going to the brew shop is a once a month endeavor, depending on how far it is away from you, and hey, you're making a batch, and you want something to coax the yeast along, give it some yeast health. A spot of olive oil is a staple in just about any kitchen I can think of, and just an easy way to help that yeast along. So I thought it was a positive tip there to help some folks with.
Yeah. Well, and there is something to be said for keeping things low tech too. I mean, I have an oxygen delivery system for my mead that just delivers pure oxygen. I paid probably $60-$80 for that, and the refill tanks are like $10-$15 each. If I can go down to the supermarket and get a nice bottle of olive oil for $10 and use a teaspoon at a time, gosh, it just makes too much sense.
Yeah. So, like I said, I'm one of those guys. The only tool I think that you should have in your kitchen or your brew house, if you want to go a little farther, the only tool I want in my brew house that serves a single purpose is the fire extinguisher.
The fire extinguisher.
Everything else has got to serve, has got to serve multiple purposes. It has to do multiple things here.
So get my hydrometer aside too. That's kind of important.
Sure, of course. Yeah. But I'm just saying, I don't.
Oh yeah.
I'm going with that. I mean, you can beat that to death and probably name 10 items that do one thing. Yeah. But the point is that you don't need to buy a ton of expensive equipment that only does one thing unless you want to. I'm not going to say you need to have a bunch of expensive equipment that does one thing to make good mead. So, and this kind of fit in with that. So it was interesting. And Jeff, I would love to hear what happens if you use coconut oil and olive oil and difference. And JD, I look forward to hearing what you've got. And I think I'm going to give it a try too. One of my upcoming batches here and see if I can taste any difference, because I've got a good friend, and even when I use different yeast nutrients to the proper proportions, I've got a buddy who says he can taste it, and
wow.
I can't. I know I don't, but he says he can pick it up, and if you use the proper proportion, he's like, oh, you way overdid it on the yeast, the different nutrients that you can use, because you can pick it up. And for some people's really sensitive palates like that, I wonder if the olive oil is a way to also, remove whatever chemical or compound it is that certain people can pick up.
Yeah. Interesting. And on a side note, I got my box from Brady Instruments the other day. I thought I sent you guys a picture, maybe not, but let me tell you, Brady Instruments, that's another one we need to give a shout out. I'll put that in the show notes. Brady Instruments, their hydrometers. I mean, this kit that I got, it's one of the more expensive ones. I think it was $140, whatever it was. But it comes with this nice wooden stand and a thermometer, a couple of hydrometers, and hydrometers. There's actually, I believe there's two. One starts at one level and goes up so far, and then the next one picks it up at that level and goes up even higher. So it's a very precision.
There should be 3 in the set.
Yeah, I think so. I think so. But it's very precision, and I'm really eager to start using them. But Brady Instruments was one of our guests here on a previous show. I can't say enough about them. They've got lesser expensive options on their website, but I just wanted to throw that out there and say, hey, I got my stuff, dude, and it's good, really good, high quality. Enough about EVOO. We've got a lot to tackle here on Facebook, friends. Of course, this is where we try to answer questions with no formal expertise other than what we've experienced in our own brew house. So let's get started. Ryan, looking down your list, you've got a guy here. His name is Lewis, talking about Braggis. Let's talk about that one.
So Lewis says, has anyone made a braggot with sorghum extract instead of LME or liquid malt extract? I suppose one might say that it is technically braggot style and not a true braggot, since there will be no barley, wheat, rye, etc. involved in the brew. Since I'm not planning on entering into competition, I guess these technicalities don't really matter that much. Nope, I just lost it. And
not planning. Yeah.
I'm looking to make an ancient Egyptian-inspired braggot devoted to something I can't pronounce. But I'm trying to make it gluten wheat-free. I was originally looking into spelt, as that was the heirloom wheat that the Egyptians had. But unfortunately, it's 100% a myth that spelt is safe for celiac and wheat allergies. It just ain't. I've never brewed with sorghum before, so any suggestions from folks who have experience in that area would be appreciated. Okay. So essentially, he wants to make a gluten-free braggot. Sounds like there's some celiac or wheat intolerance that he's worried about, and wants to go from there. And sorghum is great for that. I've got a friend who is celiac afflicted and likes beer, and there are a couple of breweries in the Twin Cities area that are gluten-free breweries and make their beer with sorghum, and they're good. They're actually pretty good. So sorghum is the way to go. Now, in my experience, now I have had mead made with sorghum. Another guy that'll be on the show, a professional brewer, future episode, makes mead with sorghum, and it's very delicious. However, depending on the proportions you're using, at least the proportions I've had, sorghum and honey not ferment into what you would think of as beer-like. I've had some that are like 50-50, honey and sorghum, and are much more mead-like. Now, I don't know the process. Again, I don't know if it was like sorghum was fermented first and then at kind of the high kreuzen, so to speak, then the honey was added or something like that. I don't know the way that it was made, but I do, again, know that when I've had these sorghum-based braggots or sorghum-based meads, that they are much more like a trad than they are like a braggot. And I'm speaking from my personal experience, what we have experienced in our own brew house. Jeff, you're going to say something.
Well, I'm playing devil's advocate here, but I've not had very many sorghum meads. I think I've tasted one or two tops, and for the life of me, I can't quite put my finger on the flavor that I got from the sorghum itself. But part of me wonders if that flavor from the sorghum isn't just particularly subdued, even compared to like honey or like a Pilsen barley. That flavor from that sorghum may just be a very light flavor. It may be a very sugary grain that doesn't have a lot of other flavor character coming into it compared to, the stuff that we're used to brewing with. So,
depends on how.
That may be part of the problem.
There's one other thing I was going to say. There was a chef that I knew, and he said that he would replace now the sorghum syrup that you stock in the homebrew store and that we use for brewing is probably a different grade or quality or than maybe some of the culinary sorghum syrups. But I knew a chef that said that he, in his restaurant, replaced using honey with sorghum syrup. So what that also tells me is that if he's replacing honey in recipes with sorghum syrup, it's going to be fairly comparable. I'm not saying it's a honey substitute. That's not what I'm saying at all. What I'm saying is that it's along the same lines of the sweetness and the consistency and that kind of thing.
They're kind of in that analogous flavor category. Sure.
Yeah. So again, what I'm saying here is Lewis, and for anybody else, what celiac or not, sorghum's a great thing to play with. I love playing with sorghum. I've done it a few times, and I've got some sorghum downstairs that I'm going to play with here in the next couple of months. But again, if you are going to go braggot-ish with it, you might be disappointed if you're just going sorghum and honey. Is there now? Again, I am not the celiac or wheat expert, but you might need to add another grain to give it some beer-like qualities, like oats. I want to say oats are safe.
Barleys or oats, yes.
And so if you were to add oats, if you were to if you want an extract or you steep oats or something like that to give it just a little more of that body and mouthfeel and of what you might expect in a braggot. So anyway, that was kind of my thoughts on that. JD, were you going to chime in?
Yeah, I have a somewhat of familiarity with sorghum, and this obviously comes from my ranching days out in Colorado, raising beef and whatnot. Some of the winter feed that we would feed, even when you get to the point where you're almost ready to butcher, you've got let's say maybe 3-4 months left. And you start in on a sweet feed. The sweet feed is usually corn, rolled oats, a number of other grains, and they're coated in sorghum syrup, basically. It's basically the same stuff. Sorghum is a cereal grain. It's been around for a very long, long time. But again, it depends on how far down the sorghum has been cooked. Okay. Depends on the type of sweetness that you get. Some of it is very molasses-like. Some of it is very honey-like. We're talking two different extremes here. If honey was on one end, molasses would be definitely on the other. Everybody's had, blackstrap molasses or that kind of thing. So sorghum is very sweet. I mean, I used to go out to the grain bin and get a handful of sorghum sweet grain and put it in my pocket. I'd chew on that all day long. I mean, it's like eating candy. So, I mean, there's different levels. Now, I don't know what level of cook that the sorghum for brewing is at, but my experience with sorghum has always been that it's very sweet. So, fermentable sugars, I'm not that familiar with sorghum as far as that goes, but I'd probably be very careful about using sorghum as a replacement for anything in brewing, at that point. That's my own 2 cents, not that it means a hill of beans, because we're talking cows versus beer.
Still getting sugar out of it, though.
Yeah, getting sugar out of it.
Well, and for my own 2 cents, I don't know. I've never, to my knowledge, I've never seen like sorghum as a whole grain, like viable by the pound, as opposed to just the syrup that you see at the homebrew store that I have at the homebrew store I work at sometimes.
Yeah.
It's always just the syrup. It's not the grain, so I'm not sure how accessible it is compared to the barley that we're malting when we're doing a braggot. That said, it depends on the level of gluten intolerance you're looking at. But I know that there's also another product out there called Clarity Firm, I think, which is it's designed to enzymatically break down some of the proteins that cause haze. So it's supposed to clear your beer. But one of the things that they've found that it does is break down a pretty substantial amount of the gluten, which as you guys know, that's a protein. That's a protein, like many of the other things that are clouding up your beer. So getting rid of that in some trials has found that a number of people that have some level of gluten intolerance have been able to tolerate, a basic barley beer that has been treated with that. I'm not going to say that this is the end all be all and makes everything great, but I know some people have been using it with good success, so that might be worth looking into as well.
Very good. Moving on here, guys. Another one off of Ryan's list comes from Josh. He's talking about cinnamon sticks. Ryan, anyone put just cinnamon sticks in their mead? If so, how's the final product? I've used cinnamon sticks before. A little bit can go a long ways. And what you think might be the right amount might even take you overboard. That's my 2 cents on it, Ryan. What's your thoughts?
I have dropped cinnamon sticks in a mead. I did it in a sizer.
Yeah.
And it was, I mean, you've got to taste, and then at that point rack, because I had no way to just fish out the cinnamon stick. But I've done that. I also had done where I made a cinnamon extract, and I just put a cinnamon stick in a jar of neutral spirit, and just kind of created a cinnamon extract that way. And then I was able to kind of dose it in a little bit. And actually, I don't think that was, I think, I don't know if that was the best way to do it. I think maybe boiling or heating cinnamon is a better way to extract the flavors versus a spirit extraction. I don't know. We'll have to ask our friends from Mountain Rose Herbs the next time they're on the show with us. But anyway, that was another way that I did it, and I liked that worked as well too. I mean, think about the cinnamon whiskeys that are popular right now. or at least were. I don't know if they still are.
Yeah, winter time.
If you want to be highly efficient, I guess just go buy a bottle of cinnamon whiskey and douse that until you get what you want.
That works too. Jeff, I've dropped cinnamon into some, like Ryan's talking, some Sizer, or even a cider. And I remember once dropping, I don't remember how many, like 3 or 4 cinnamon sticks in, and that was like way overboard. I mean, it was like having a little bit of apple juice with your cinnamon. I mean, it was just way overboard. So you got to be very careful. The difficulty that I find with cinnamon sticks is once you drop them in, they're really hard to get back out once you've reached your profile. What would be your recommendation as far as using cinnamon sticks? How would you approach that as far as putting them in a carboy or something?
Well, you guys have had my my pie spice sizer. I think I sent my pumpkin pie mead that I made as well.
Yeah.
I used cinnamon both of those, and I took the same approach with the cinnamon and as I did with the other spices that went in there. Actually, it's funny you mentioned it's easy to overpower it. My pie spice recipe, if I remember right, was like 8 parts cinnamon to 2 parts nutmeg and 2 parts allspice and 1 part cardamom or something like that. The cinnamon was the overwhelming like beast in that pie spice.
Yeah.
I got notes of all of them in there just based on what I was tasting, but the cinnamon was the bulk of it. What I did for those, and I would recommend doing this in either a wide mouth kind of a pit, just because it's always easiest to pull stuff from a nice wide opening. I took all my ingredients, took my heaviest like skillet or pot or whatever I had handy, and just gave them a good rough crush. Put them in a coffee filter, tied that off with some unwaxed dental floss, and tossed it in.
Yeah.
With a little string hanging off the inside.
Very good. Pushing on here, Ryan, skipping down to Oliver. He's got a pretty interesting question here. Can you find it? You see it? Oliver.
Anything interesting you can do with all your fruit once you have fished it out? It smells amazing.
What?
So Oliver, I believe it made a big fruit bomb.
And
he pulls out all of his.
Want me to start this one off?
What's that?
Want me to start this one off?
I do. Yeah, I do. I was just giving the context. I think Oliver had made a big fruit bomb, and then I just pulled out and had all this fruit pommes left over.
Yep.
JD, what should he do with it?
Yeah, been there, done that, dude. Let me tell you something. The best place for it, probably in the compost pile. I've taken some people's recommendations, say, "Oh, make a jelly out of it." No, don't do that. Put it in the compost pile. Believe me, you'll be better off. If you've got one going. If not, just take it down to the garbage dumpster and just leave it there. I've tried making some jams and jellies out of the leftover fruits that come out of a fermentation. Believe me, unless you're a glutton for punishment and just hate stuff to taste, or just love stuff to taste bad, make some jelly out of it. But compost pile, please. Jeff, what's your ideas on it?
Take it and press it. Get all the good alcohol out of that. But the yeast has done their job. If you've got a good yeast strain in there, they have done their job. They have gotten the sugars, they've gotten the yummy stuff, they've even gotten some tannins and some of the other great parts of the fruit. What you're left with in that pomace probably just smells great because your mead smells great, to be honest. So I would, maybe filter that and put that in I wouldn't necessarily put that into your main must. That seems like a great way to invite some oxidization. But treat yourself. Have a couple glasses with you and someone you like, and that's probably what I would do with it. And then, like JD said, compost the rest.
Compost it. Ryan, you got any ideas on that or no?
I mean, I completely agree with you guys. If you've just kind of followed the right kind of steps, every bit of sugar will have been consumed.
Yep.
And when you have all of the sugar out of the fruit, you no longer have the flavor of that fruit. Again, yes, Jeff hit it on the head. When you pull it out and it's wet and it smells great, it's because that the meat on it smells great. And, pop one of those strawberries in your mouth, or one of those now white raspberries in your mouth, and see what that tastes like. Because, he said it smelled amazing. He didn't say it tasted amazing.
It does that. I mean, you could use it for a room air freshener, I suppose, but to make anything out of it, nah, believe me, compost it. Facebook friends, moving on here, guys. Sticking with Ryan's list here. Actually, let's flip over to Jeff. Have you got one pulled up right away there?
Yeah, let me pull this guy up here. User Peck Scraw. This is an interesting concept I wanted to kind of get you guys' take on. Says he has a question involving infusing honey. I'm wondering about infusing honey, kind of specifically with some chili peppers for a hot honey almost. I know there's some issues about heating up honey and then later fermenting it. I'm wondering what those issues are specifically, and if anyone has actually infused honey with flavors, in this case capsaicin, this way with any degrees of success both before and after fermenting the honey. Looking for new ways to brew. Any info is always appreciated. What do you guys think? Have you tried either infusing with, chilies or with anything really?
So I've seen infused honeys. I've had infused honeys, both for flavor and herbal remedy, type of thing. Now again, if you're gonna put it on tea or toast or just a spoonful in your mouth,
right.
those that's where the infused honey makes sense. If you want to do that, if you want to, that kind of thing. If you're making a mead, I want independent levers to pull. I want to say, I'm going to add this much honey. That's going to get me what I want. Now I'm going to add this much chili, and I'm going to get what I want. I'm going to add, this cinnamon stick, and I'm going to get what I want. I don't want those things to be tied together when they don't need to be tied together.
Right.
I don't see any benefit of first infusing chili into a honey and then fermenting that honey when and giving up the control versus me fermenting a mead and adding the chilies as I see to get me the flavor that I want. So I do that. Secondly, when he says what are the issues with heating honey, 2 to 3, and the 2 to 3 are number one, you are going to blow off the delicate aromatics. You're going to get rid of the aromatics, and some of the delicate flavors are going to go bye-bye with the heat. So if you wouldn't ever want to use a nice varietal, for example, do that. Number 2 is that depending on how you're heating and the temperature and how long and things like that, you can start to caramelize the honey and bring on some additional flavors that you might not have planned for or wanted. And then number 3, and like I said, sometimes people infuse honeys as like herbal remedies. Those herbalists, I've heard claim that when you heat the honey, you can lose some of those herbal or those remedy benefits. So like some of those things can also be, and I'm being vague because I don't have all the knowledge in this, but I'm simply saying that I know they say that the heated honey is not as doesn't have all the healing properties as a raw honey. So those would be the three things to keep in mind that I can think of what happens when you heat the honey, and why I would not infuse before making a mead.
Jeff, what do you think?
Well, Ryan hit the nail on the head there in a lot of different regards. I wholeheartedly agree that, yeah, I want to be able to pull those levers independently, because you think about it, when you infuse that honey, or you buy some honey that somebody infused, let's say cinnamon, because I know, like, anytime I go to the farmer's market, one of the local beekeepers is always selling creamed honey with a cinnamon infusion in it, and that sounds great on toast. He got that balance of cinnamon and sweet based on the sweet. And once that sweet is gone, that's way too much cinnamon, I'm willing to bet. I've not tried that myself, but I would, put dollars on, that cinnamon balance is going to be way out of whack in a way that you're just not going to appreciate. The other thing that I will throw in here that's kind of a left field issue is that I know I've kind of been experimenting with other forms of preservation lately. Been making some sauerkraut and doing some other vegetable preserves, and I've heard of a couple different ways to preserve vegetables that you see, like vegetables in olive oil, for example. One of the ways that I've seen people preserving root vegetables especially is like soaking them in honey, and apparently this causes a kind of a lactobacillus fermentation to go on. So doing that kind of infusion, just throwing some chilies into honey and letting it sit, could accidentally create a strain of something other than yeast that you're then introducing into that must when you go mix up your meat. So there's something to consider.
Yeah, I think Ryan made a good point. Rather than infusing honey with the flavors that you're looking for to put in your mead, why not add those flavors as a layer on your, during your fermentation process to start with. So we're going to leave it right there for tonight, guys. Want to thank, let me go to the script here. Pardon my voice. I've been dealing with this damn flu. I've had a relapse of this damn thing twice now. And believe me, it's no fun to get over with. But the coughing and everything has left my throat kind of raspy sounding. My wife doesn't even know who I am when she gets home in the morning sometimes. So, yeah, but anyway, thanks for listening, for hanging out with us during this episode. And I want to throw a big shout out to Michael Azar for joining us from Next Level Oak. Thanks for stopping by, guy. And check out his innovative products at nextleveloak.com. And hey, don't forget to let us know what you're brewing. We might even give you a call. Email us at info@themeadhouse.com or send us a message on Facebook or Twitter, both at the Mead House. In the meantime, hey, happy mead making. That's it for this episode. Ryan flipped the lights off. Jeff slammed that door shut. We'll be back next week with episode 149 of the Mead House. We're gone.